The PWR presents What If? What if John Cena turned heel? What if Chyna became the first woman world heavyweight champion? What if Owen Hart never passed away? What if Magnum TA never got into a car crash? What if Hulk Hogan stayed with the AWA? What if Shawn Michaels signed with WCW? What if WCW won the Monday Night Wars? What if Vince McMahon's WrestleMania failed? What if?
It is December Reflectionites. It is Christmas time. It's Hanukkah time. It is Kwanzaa time. But most importantly, it's reflection time. It is what if time here on the PWR podcast at the PWR Networks at PodBeam.com. And if A-Track Brown uploads this, it will be on the PWR YouTube networks. Welcome, welcome to the What If special here on the PWR podcast. Shout outs to the Sami Media Groupites on the Sami Media Group at PodBeam.com. Shout outs to the Big Vitoites at Wixsite.com. Shout out to the Hustleites at the PWR networks. And always shout out to the Reflectionites, the Magnificent Seven, the Elite Eight, the Naughty Nine, the Terrific 10. You know who you are. The John McHugans, Donna Destructions, the Philip Scott Woods, the Schmetniks, the SNX Express, Greenpeace. You know who you are. Oh, welcome. It is I. People, I've been, they slid into DMs of the professor, not in that way, TW, but they slid into the DMs. They've been like, Professor, why don't you wear like a cape? Why don't you do be like a Dungeon of Doom taskmaster? I'm like, no. I think the laugh's enough. But you know what? If I put props, I'm not the prop master. That's my cohort in crime. He's the prop master. I don't take gimmick. I don't do gimmick infringements. So all I got for, patent pending is that's all I got. But I'm not doing no robes, no capes, no nothing. But anyway, I must introduce myself. That's another patent pending because I am vain like that. I am the magnanimous one. I am the stupendous one. I am the oh so glorious one. The only objective man in the IWC, YWC, and PWC punditry. Your friend of mine, the Professor Chababa Cruz. I laugh better than Seth Rollins. Neither here nor there. But anyway, I must introduce my partner in crime, my brother from another mother, the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, dum-dum doing idiot's own, the iron stomach one, Dr. Freaking Stein himself, Mr. Wonderful, Tommy Wonder. How you doing, my friend? Oh, he's dabbing.
I'm looking at myself in the screen, and I don't know if it's Jody Hamilton or not, but who's the guy in NWA WCW that was Kevin Sullivan's leader, the fat bald guy with the wrinkled head?
Oh, I forgot his name, but yeah, you just call him Father, but I know who you're talking about. But he was Kamala's manager too.
Yeah. King Lua or Lua King. I don't know, whatever the fuck. That's all I see is my fat ass on there. I got an A-tan, lose some weight.
But you gotta paint your face white. You're close if you do that. Yeah.
Well, I'm just telling you, I see this glare and everything else. But it's a short version of Ray's favorite thing. I added to my collection this week. Mm-hmm. Finally got an elite five-time Booker to go on the Wall of Fame.
Can you dig that?
Then, because this fucking dude, I don't listen. Anyone has a problem with what I'm about to show right now? Fuck, name and time and a place, I'll fight you. Because this dude got a raw deal, but bam. These guys should be back together, and they should be NXT Tag Team Champions for the third time. That's
you mean the guy that beat up his wife? That's what they
said?
said?
Fucking beat her up. That chick accused other people of it, too, and they never got in trouble. But
I'm just going by what the report said. I didn't say I'm canceling him. I just said
that he got absolutely no trouble for because the chick was bruised from wrestling or punching herself because she's nuts. And by the way, she's accused other people. I don't care. If she really got abused, fuck that guy. But
wasn't he a Nazi sympathizer too or something?
So that's the other thing, right? You see a picture, still frame. This dude's tag team partner, his best friend in life, is a black dude. And they're trying to label him on the internet as some racist guy. Yet all he does, he's him, and then Trey Miguel is what? Hispanic? This dude is in like a fucking United Nations fucking group of best friends, and we're supposed to believe this dude really likes Hitler. So I can tell you right now, someone could just screenshot me doing that right there and put it on the internet, and it looks like I did a high-hole Hitler. He probably was shaven, made a little joke and said, look, I should leave this. I've done that. So put that on Twitter. I've shaved my face and went, oh, that looks ridiculous. Who would ever keep that? But
you know what's funny? When you did that in slow motion, it does not look like anything but a little bit like, So anyways, you're sliding to somebody's DMs doing that. That's another story. And also, if you do the high Hitler, I'm gonna have a freeze frame on my face like this.
Right.
That's all I'm just gonna.
Like the dick is
hell no, but anyway, neither hit.
By the way, shout out to Lamar Jackson with the burn of the week on the internet. So some asshole told the Ravens they should walk away from him, and he said, "You ain't never been on a field. You ain't ever done nothing but eat dicks." And I just thought, awesome. And then some asshole ESPN reporter tried to say it was a homophobic slur. I'm sorry. Don't girls eat dicks too? So is he also misogynistic? And he came right back and stood his ground and said, bitch, I never said nothing about race, sexuality, or anything of the nature. I told that dude that all he's ever done is eat dicks. And if that's whatever.
We've grown up in the streets, and that's right. Playing to dozens. That's playing.
Dude, that took me back to the streets when I read that. I wanna slide in his DMs and say, Lamar, I want more of that shit. Because these motherfuckers in the basement telling their ma to get the meatloaf and then thinking they're the armchair quarterback, the armchair wrestler, the armchair baseball player, the armchair basketball and hockey player. They ain't shit. They ain't shit. Their life sucks, and they want to make other people's lives suck. So they get on the internet and they fuck with people's lives. And I amen to fucking Lamar Jackson. I'm cussing. I don't get passionate. We're definitely going to lose Travis. We're going to drop down to 11. But here's the last of the bits. I finally got a figure of this man who's done a lot in wrestling. But one thing he's done better than anybody in the history of the business is taking a super kick. And that's this dude right here, baby.
Bobby Lashley, the Almighty.
What you racist motherfucker? This is Shelton Benjamin, the gold standard.
I'm just playing. I know that.
How dare you? Man.
They all look alike. That's all right.
Wow.
They all look alike.
We're getting canceled. So,
yeah, of course.
He also, I think, took an RKO pretty awesome. I can't remember how he did it, though. Also, first time ever.
I don't know about that. Not the way. The super kick from HBK, he took it very...
Best ever.
That was best ever.
And it was his idea, I heard. So this is only the second guy to ever be in the TW Hall of Fame, first being Sting as Surfer Sting and Crow Sting. But now there's another guy in the Hall of Fame. The first official, well, no, Edge and Christian were in there, but now they're separated by AEW.
Well, the heart. Oh, you got the hearts finally.
I showed you them. You told me it was, I asked you, you said WrestleMania 2, and I said the Battle Royal, and you said, yep. So Bret, Neidhart, Shelton Benjamin. Look at that. I got an old tag team, and I got MSK and Booker T. I got a Bulldog, but he's pinned to the wall. That's it for now. Oh, and then I got, you can't see it, but Build a Rick Rude right there. It's got Warrior. That's my favorite AJ Styles figure. The true chosen one, Becky Lynch, and you build Rick Rude. And coming out soon, I just saw it on the Twitters. Or no, Instagrams. That's a good place, by the way, Instagram. They're making a SummerSlam series. It's going to have Zeus. Must be having all people famous for SummerSlam. And it's build a Mr. Perfect in the suit that says Mr. Perfect on the back.
You know what? I'm going to shout out to another Reflectionite, the greatest president ever, Joe Biden. We need another loan for TW to get all these action figures so this way he can expand the TW Hall of Fame. But anyway, Joe Biden, do your due diligence and get the loans out so this way TW can expand the TW Hall of Fame. But neither here nor there. Now,
Fauci's trying to close everything down again, so maybe we get more money.
And there you go. But anyway, let's do what we do best and go nostalgic. But we can't go nostalgic. We have to go with the newest concept, the concept that everybody loves here at the PWR podcast, the what if, where we go into, we have the crystal ball in our hands and change history, change the course of wrestling history. And we have a doozy here because you know what? I picked this one because it was very interesting. It's more of a debate what if than a booking what if TW, if you can agree with that assessment or not, because I think anybody could book this, but I think we have to look at it not only in hindsight, but in the reality stages. This what if episode, this is what if number 3, is what if Tully Blanchard in 1989 passed the drug test and was allowed to reunite the 4 Horsemen with himself, Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, Ole Anderson, and then a couple of months later would have been Barry Windham. And then, funny enough, it would not have been Sid Vicious in the 4 Horsemen. So he would have been excommunicated out and Sid Vicious would have had his own thing. So that's number 1. But TW, let's go with the hindsight because we have to at least talk about this. We know that the man running the company of WCW was Jim Herd, the pizza guy, the Mr. Pizza Hut himself. Ric Flair didn't like Jim Herd. The Road Warriors didn't like Jim Herd. I get all that. I get the reality of what I'm talking about because then people will be like, no, but this is what it's called what if. We are going to, this what if is if Jim Herd was smart enough or got slapped in the face by Ric Flair and Tully Blanchard like, let us do what we do best and make you a whole bunch of money, and Jim Herd took a step back. So we're going to take it out there. But TW, we have to address that issue. Let's put it into that terms before we even start booking. With what would have Jim Herd done? What kind of business relationship would he have had? We already know how toxic his relationship was with Ric Flair. What if he allowed Tully Blanchard the good graces to come back in 1989 to reunite the 4 Horsemen in November of 1980?
Belt back on the greatest world television champion of all time. And it's Tully. It's always been Tully. It'll always be Tully. And first things first, Tully wouldn't have let him change from this belt to that ugly-ass belt they had when Austin was wearing it and all that. That's the first thing. Tully would have been doing some housekeeping, and there's no way he would have made this beautiful belt get reshelved for some ladies title, because that's what it looked like, little tiny-ass ladies title. That's first and foremost.
Okay. Well, I get you that.
And I think if you go back in 89, I don't think it's Wyndham or Sid. I think Tully and Arn come back with Flair. I think Lex is the guy who's the 4th Horseman. They get the best version of the 4 Horsemen there ever was back together.
Well, that's it. Well, let's talk about that here because in 1989, Lex Luger was on the apex of a heel run. He was a heel turn. He turned on Ricky Steamboat earlier in the summer of 89. So it's apropos that you say that. So let's talk about a what-if scenario. There's many scenarios here. So you got a good one right there. Lex Luger was already the United States Heavyweight Champion. Ric Flair was already World Heavyweight Champion. But here's the quandary, TW. We have to at least book it because when Tully Blanchard, let's say what if style, comes back with Arn Anderson, Ric Flair is in a war with Terry Funk. He's in a war with Great Muta. It was called J-Tex Corporations. It was Muta, Funk, and Gary Hart, and I believe it was the Games Master. There was some kind of the Karate Master, but it was some stupid thing. But neither here nor there. I don't want to get on the logistics. So could you, I don't want to ask this question because it's kind of funny to me, but I would never believe Tully Blanchard is a good guy, even if he's helping Ric Flair. Ric Flair, we can empathize with Ric Flair. We empathize with Ric Flair in 89 when he took the pile driver from Terry Funk. We can maybe give a pass to Arn Anderson, but there is no fucking way we could cheer for Tully Blanchard because Tully Blanchard, as he has said it so eloquently himself, he's the dynamite. He's the heater of the Four Horsemen. His job is to make you hate him. His job is to make you want to pay your hard-earned money to see him get the shit kicked out of him. Could you, for at least a week, dismiss all that just to see him reunite the Four Horsemen and kick the asses of Buddha Funk and cheer for him for one night only, but know that at least in a couple of weeks, he's about to turn, the Four Horsemen is going to be what the Four Horsemen was all about. What say you?
You got two options. You book it where they come back and first start talking to Lex, then start talking to Flair, and Flair pushes him away. Then it comes down to the time when the match is going down, and you don't know if it's a situation like modern day AJ Styles is coming to say yes to Finn Balor, or if he's going to say no and bring his own guys. You could very easily have Arn, Lex, Tully, and a mystery guy form their own Four Horsemen, and then Flair have Ole, Barry, and Sid come out, or whatever fucking fourth guy instead of Ole, and have dueling, and then set up a War Games between Horsemen and Horsemen. Or you can do the double turn where those guys come out and Flair's been telling them no, 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 and then bam, they help him beat Terry Funk. Terry's a good guy. Flair's a Horseman again, and it's like, suck it. And, Terry's a baby face whether he wants to be or not.
Not Terry. Tully. Don't say Terry.
No, Terry Funk.
Oh, okay.
A heel here because of what he did. He attacked Flair after the Steamboat match, so of course he's going to get booed. But in that match, Funk attacked the heel, right? So he turned Flair good. But you could easily dismiss that by having Terry win the belt from Flair, which he didn't need to because he already been world champion before. It's not like he was chasing that thing he could never have won. Had he been doing that, then it's easy to make him the babyface because then Lex, Arn, and Tully come out and prevent him from becoming world champion. And then he ends up full baby and wins the belt from Flair regardless of Tully, Arn, and Lex's presence.
So basically, if I'm understanding you, you're actually doing a hard reset even months prior to get to this point too. So you're really kind of like rebooking even Flair and Funk to even get to, or you could still do the following.
No. They already did what they did.
Okay.
So it's already Flair versus Funk, and Flair's the baby.
So by the time they come in, it's a hard reset, and then you just do what you're talking about. The double turn or the double swerve.
By the time they come in, Flair's already a babyface because of Funk, right?
Right.
And he keeps telling them, I got this, I got this, I got this. And then you have the match, and he ain't got this, so he accepts the help of Tully, Arn, and Lex, and the Four Horsemen are reborn. But I think the problem we're having here is, at that time, because this guy was the dirty dog that made Hall and Nash possible to go to WCW, if I'm not mistaken, J.J. Dillon was in WWE's office. And he was the one telling them about contracts coming up so they knew who to go after. And that's how they got Hall and Nash, because he told them their contracts were coming up. But I don't know if he was there yet, but I'm pretty sure Dillon was there when Arn
Dillon was there in 89. So
yeah, Arn and Tully were there. Flair or JJ was there.
Yeah, JJ was there, and Arn and Tully were in the WWE along with Barry Windham in 89. So three of the Four Horsemen were there, give or take.
You could have put Mr. Perfect with those three and had your own with fucking J.J. Dillon and had your fucking new Horsemen and call them the fucking Death Riders or something.
You see the beauty of What If? Because TW just now went to What If on the WWE side. What if the Four Horsemen was created?
How about this? What if he still wasn't allowed back there and then Vince was like, fuck it, come here. And then he built a stable around Tully, because I've said it on the show a million times. I think Tully was better than Ric Flair and all that stuff. You said it yourself. He was the little heater. When I'd see him at my aunt and uncle's house on them Saturdays and Christmases when I was there and it was on, I thought Tully was the fucking star. He had this belt, or he had that national heavyweight title, whatever the fuck that was, and he would talk so much shit, and Flair would just be standing there with his sunglasses on, and I'm like, is this guy the leader? Because he was fucking awesome at it. So imagine you put him, you get rid of the fucking anchor that is Arn Anderson, and you make Tully, I mean, he's at least worthy of an IC title run, if you ask me. And you put him, you throw Barry with him, so you got familiarity, and then you throw a fucking heel tag team with him. I don't even care. Hopefully someone good, not Beefcake and Valentine, who were 109 years old at the time, but you throw like Fuck, turn the Stallions heel and put them with them, you know?
No, you turned the Rockers heel.
Yeah,
So they did it. But hey, I get where you're going with it.
That would feel like they had an imitation Horseman and an imitation Rock and Roll Express fucking rolling. I just think
wrestling is cyclical.
And you got to keep it with what's a stick? Power and Glory would have been good. Fucking Roma, Hercules, Barry Windham, and Tully is whatever the fuck you want to call them. With JJ.
Again, that's a different what if. So that's a WWE what if. So that probably be part 3A. But anyway, let's go with part 3 here in Tully in the WCW.
King Kurt Iakia, and he was called the Master, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool. I knew it was the Master. I didn't know it was. I knew it was either Karate Master or something, but there was a Master in it. Not Master Vader, but I knew there was a Master in it.
It was Jody Hamilton, but I don't think it is. I don't know.
I have no idea. But anyway, you named one scenario, but there is another little not a quandary, but there is something that was building in 1990. So now Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson are back. It is, from that standpoint, it would be Ole, Arn, Tully, and Flair by the time Starrcade comes around, Reflectionites. So we're going to go with this scenario, TW. Now remember what they were trying to build, because they were trying to build another star for the 90s. They were trying to, the pillars, if you will. And Sting was a pillar. So, of course, Ric Flair's greatest job, greatest attribute as a wrestler, he loved to make young guys. He made Sting. He made Luger. The list. He made Wyndham. The list goes on and on and on. So, so now you have Tully Blanchard in the fold. I think before we even talk about like Flair and Sting and trying to like recycle the the formula of the Four Horsemen. You protect the heavyweight champion of the world, Ric Flair. Of course, that's natural. But also there was a formula that worked. But I don't know. But maybe, let me ask you this in a scenario sense, TW. Remember the dominance of the Four Horsemen with, like you said, Luger and Wyndham, 87 to 88. Flair's the heavyweight title. Luger or Wyndham are the U.S. champions. And, of course, the Brainbusters are the tag team champions. Could you recycle that formula again in 1990? I know you're going to say yes, but you got to validate that because again, fickle fans are always fickle.
Especially if it's those four, either one, Luger or Wyndham.
Okay.
Everything is old is new again. When you take something away from people, they want it back. And so I don't know how long it would have ran. Mm-hmm. And I think we both agree they fucking buried the Horsemen's legacy with the 907 fucking guys they put in there after all that went down. Look, man, I know Dean Malenko's your favorite wrestler. You guys are the same height. Dean Malenko is not a Horseman. Paul Roma is not a Horseman.
Well,
Chris Benoit, maybe. But I think Chris Benoit would have been better as a Horseman with Arn, Flair, and Tully. Everything post Tully and Arn as the anchors of it, they're the pillars, Flair's obviously the head guy, but Arn and Tully are your pillars, the enforcer, the heater, right? And then that fourth guy was interchangeable. Usually it was a bigger dude, Wyndham. Tully was supposed to be, not Tully, Ole was supposed to be that muscle guy because apparently...
if to be logistically, you want to talk about 89 or just in
No.
in reference?
I'm saying Benoit in the spot of Lex, Sid, or Wyndham is kind of, he's not big enough to be in that spot. He'd almost have to be Tully's spot. But, TV champion, whatever. But Sid and Wyndham were in it together, and that's why a lot of people like that version of them, because it's like having the skyscrapers with Arn and Flair. Like, how is that not, put Kevin Nash in there instead of...
No, I get you, but then with this what-if scenario, TW, let's just remember this. If Tully's there, we don't need Ole. We just need either Luger or Wyndham to reunite.
With four.
Yeah.
It's Luger or Wyndham with the other three.
Right.
I think it's successful because it's legit. It's a real version of them. And if it's Lex, it's even more legit because they trimmed fat with getting rid of Ole, no pun intended, and put in Luger, who was better. I don't think anyone, I know there's some fucking fat old men who will tell you the Ole version is the best version of it. It's not. If you honestly...
People say Ole's the best version because it was the first. That's the only reason.
Right. But I'm saying if you take Drew Bledsoe off your team and you put Tom Brady on it and you win 8 fucking Super Bowls, I'm pretty sure that team's better, right? And I'm saying the Horsemen were optically better because they looked better the second they got rid of Grandpa and no knee pads for Lex Luger. Luger immediately legitimized them as big and tough, just whatever, Arn and Tully were a tag team, so they could be on the shorter end. Flair was Flair, so you're not even going to question him. And then you got Luger in there, it's just a monster. And then put Sid in there or Barry in there. Barry's awesome because he's a monster, but he can work too, right? Sid and Lex were not good workers. Let's be honest. They're good workers. They're not good wrestlers. They're not good scientific wrestlers. But
that's why people say Wyndham being in the Horsemen was the best 4 combo ever.
Talent-wise, yeah, probably. But people would say that about Ole. But I'm saying optically, there's not a better version of Horseman than the one with Luger. Luger, and it worked storyline and everything because it looked like the classic, how do I stop Luger from winning my belt if you're Ric Flair? I know, make him my friend. That's what it was.
I totally hear you, totally understand. Like I said, you said what is old is new again. I'm just saying with the politics, people hated that the 4 Horsemen dominated the most important titles. That's why I'm asking you this question from a fan base question is, no, of course. What is old is new again?
Or people like behind the scenes?
No, the fans, we would love it. Like you said, what is old is new again. So we would love to see that because if you have Tully and Arn back in 1990 Reflectionites as the tag team champions, look at the crops that's waiting. You can get a rematch with the Road Warriors before they leave. You got the Steiner brothers coming along. You got Doom.
Midnight.
You could relive the glory days, if you will, TW, of the Rock and Roll Express because they came back in 1990. You got the Wild Eye Southern Boys. And again, that's a feeder for WCW Saturday Night, but that's something to work with. So there is 5 legitimate contenders for Tully and Arn as tag.
Freebirds.
You got the Freebirds were kind of on laying in the weeds lower, but I'll give you that. Freebirds.
But it would. You're telling me Jimmy Jam and Michael
and you could actually do what was untapped potential as a feud. The Midnight Express against the Brainbusters.
Yeah.
Give it time to grow, and you had more pay-per-views, Reflectionites. So again, I'm naming the tag teams that were there.
A bunch of teams that could chase them.
I even forgot your favorite of all time, the top 3 tag team of all time, the Nasty Boys. They were there. Well, why you give me that face? You know it's your.
I also look like that fucking guy that just won with the stroke. I look like that guy too.
Oh, okay. Reflectionites. He loves the Nasty Boys. Don't worry about that. But anyway,
hate him.
We know the fans would love it because there's a lot of dream matches. But now let's talk about the politics behind the scenes. What is old is new again does not go well with a new crop of wrestlers. Do you see Doom or Butch Reed and Ron? I know I can literally a fact. Butch Reed be like, hell no, we ain't letting these crackers become tag team champions again. I'm just saying that. I'm just being honest.
I disagree. I was just going to tell you, 1990 is a good fucking line in the sand from when it's not quite the participation trophy era, but I promise you, guys like Butch Reed, guys like the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express, these are guys who are not marked for belts. They are marked for the paycheck. And they all know the money is in chasing the belt, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we win it. There's a payday for that for the fans. But as long as they're getting paid, they're fine. Then, no offense, but I'm going to bring up your guy. I don't know if it was 90 or earlier. I think it was earlier. A guy like Shane Douglas, however, teaming with Ace and...
the Dynamic Dudes.
The Dynamic Dudes, guys like that, guys like, I'm trying to think of younger guys. Fucking
the
Luger.
Skyscrapers were there. Mark Callis and Dan Spivey.
Spivey's a little long in the tooth at that point. I don't think.
No, but I'm just giving you the talent that was available for that kind of run.
I'm trying to say Green versus I think Sid would have a problem, like you said, with dropping to a guy like, he had my size. I'm not losing to him because people bought their own press clippings by then. And guys before that, think about it. Ric Flair was champion for a year. He dropped the belt to somebody, win it back a month later, and then repeat. And he did that for 5 or 6 years in a row before.
Yeah, give or take. It wasn't like that, but I get what you're saying. It wasn't a year. Sometimes it was
1 year
months.
was Tommy Rich, and that was Harley Race. But 1 year it was Sting, he won it back. 1 year was Ronnie Garvin, he won it back. 1 year was Dusty Rhodes, he won it back. 1 year was almost Ricky Morton. 1 year was Kerry Von Erich, he won it back. So my point is, it was such a formula. It's just as consistent as Hogan being champion for 6 years, because Flair was champion for the same fucking 6 years. He just lost it and won it back in the time. Mm-hmm. Because why? The money was in the chase. You had to lose it to keep him coming back for more. Hogan, the money was in him. He was the attraction because the guy's 6'9" and 302 pounds. So
they paid for the hero and the hero to win.
Right.
But
that was the difference between the two.
Right. But in the Southern territory, it was the chase, like you said. But the heels drew the money. Right. So that's what the responsibility was there. But again, you actually named a good example. Sid Vicious would have been a problem backstage if Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson were the tag team champions, and he probably would have had to been with the Skyscrapers. That would have been probably a 3-man faction right there with Callis, Spivey, and Sid, because then Vicious could actually work off of 2 workers and learn from them in a sense, because Callis and Spivey were better workers. Sid was just the presence, like you say. He has the charisma.
Didn't Mean Mark replace Sid when he left to go to WWE?
No. When what? Sid Vicious? No.
The original Skyscrapers are Sid and Dan.
Right.
And then Sid was gone, and Mark and Dan.
Sid was injured, and then Mark replaced him. And then they never really explained it, and then they infused Sid Vicious into the 4 Horsemen during Capital Combat in 1990 time. So that's why I say Sid Vicious would be the odd man out, because like you said, it's either going to be Wyndham or Luger. Wait a minute. Now that you mentioned this shit, I got another quandary. In the Bible, it's not really the 4 Horsemen. It's usually the 5 Horsemen, right?
4.
Oh, it is 4?
Famine, hunger, illness.
Let me, because you know where I'm going with this.
Yep.
Why have it as 4, only 4? Why not do the 5 Horsemen of the Apocalypse and just change it up, change the history?
It's just like the clowns on the internet that think there's 5 people on Mount Rushmore. There's only 4.
No, I'm just saying. Why have the battle between Luger?
Because I can't think of the other 3. I know it's famine, sickness.
No. I don't need you to get biblical here. That's Travis's job. Pastor Trav, you correct the professor. I know there's no 5 Horsemen. I got
there were 4.
I'm just saying.
Illness, probably thirst, and probably heat. I don't know. Death. Well, that was the 4th Horseman.
There you go. But anyway, why not in 1990 TW that Wyndham and Luger couldn't coexist and they create the 5 Horsemen? Because look at it from this way. I know you probably will say, wait, no. Let me just say this, because you say what is old is new again. This is totally new. This is totally a different direction for the 1990s, if you will, because now you want to talk about dominance. I know that maybe the TV title would be maybe a step down for Barry Windham, but you want to talk about dominance? The TV title? You can give that to Luger or Windham. You can bounce off the U.S. and TV titles between the 2 of them, and you can talk about a level of dominance. 5 guys right there. Then you really can actually accentuate heroes. You can accentuate the Steiner brothers. You can accentuate Sting. You can accentuate maybe the Rock and Roll Express as a 5-on-5 or 6-on-5, whatever. You know where I'm going with this. This would be an ultimate stable, ultimate faction of dominance. And then, of course, Luger can be protected by 4 fucking workers instead of, him having to carry the load. So what say you, TW, about my what-if booking in 1990 by infusing both Luger and Wyndham, because they're, quote-unquote, businessmen, and they want to make money, and they want to dominate WCW in 1990. Would it work to you, or do you need one of them to be a baby face?
I got you. You ready?
Okay.
You keep Luger and Wyndham with Arn and Tully, and they turn on Flair. Keep them babyface. And they do the Flair or Wyndham, Luger or Wyndham become the front runner, the front guy. Or you let Tully do it, but then who's the team? Barry. Ooh, Tully World, Arn US, Luger and Wyndham tag.
Ooh, I think you're a little biased because you want Tully to have what he never got in NWA.
Well, I'm saying he's the best talker out of the four.
I'm just saying, I know where you're going with this. I think, but again, let me go with the hindsight in Arn's booking here, because again, Luger and Wyndham represent the future. Tully is the 80s. No disrespect to Tully Blanchard. I love him as the heater. But I think, we've been there and done that because Ric Flair was the ultimate talker, right? If he was one, then Tully is 1A with the talking as far as the Horsemen. And of course, Arn Anderson is a punctuation kind of talker. But for the purposes of accentuating and galvanizing the youth movement of the 90s. Two youths. Yeah, you got it, two youths. You have to pick either Luger or Wyndham as your heavyweight champion. And you have like a groomer like Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson grooming that young and cultivating them as to be the swagger jaggers.
You know what? It's gonna be Lex because hear me out. I know it sounds biased again. He proved that he could do it because when he did do it, he had Harley with him and he was wearing suits and he was wearing that.
In 91, that was, of course.
And he had one of my favorite lines ever, cancel culture alert, when he said, "Ron Simmons, I like you, man. There's a place for you in my organization. I need a driver." And I just fucking popped huge. Like they were tiptoeing the line. What do we call that? We haven't said it in a long time. Things you cannot do in 2022. That fucking popped me. That is second only, and I talk about this on this podcast many times, second only to Austin responding to him in the ring going, X, you want me to chop down a tree? That shit is so, but again, it takes you back to when you were a kid, and I still to this day will say X instead of ask a question. But that, when he said that to win, and then when he said it, Ron dove across the table at him, and it was all to get heat, and it worked, and Ron went after him, made me a huge Ron Simmons fan. I told you before, I cheered for Florida State University because of the vignettes with Ron Simmons, 100%. And I want to say, was it Luger and Ron were teammates and Ron Simmons played against The Rock? No, they're too far apart in age.
Yeah.
Ron Simmons played against somebody. That's what it is. They were opponents. Luger and Ron Simmons were opponents. Florida State.
They were in the football world. Yeah. It probably was Penn State against Florida State, and Luger and Ron Simmons.
Hurricane. Luger was also a Hurricane.
But he was a Hurricane. I thought he was a Penn State guy, but
he left Penn State, went to Miami, and got kicked off the team for fucking.
And then went to the CFL and followed Ron.
He was or USFL before CFL, one of them. But anyway, he was a bouncer, and he started getting into strippers, hookers, and blow. And they got kicked off the team. But I think they played against each other, Ron Simmons versus, and that's what it was. He played against Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders was a Hurricane when he played.
Deion Sanders was a Florida State guy.
Oh, then they were teammates. That's what it was. Ron Simmons and Deion Sanders were teammates, played against Luger.
Oh, okay. So we got... Okay, we'll anoint Lex Luger as the heavyweight champion. Barry's the U.S. champion. Of course, Tully and Arn are the...
Can I tell you why I picked him?
Go ahead.
He's the younger of the two. So you're building towards the future. You want the young guy who's going to be around longer. I know Wyndham's not that much older, but he is older.
But with what you do, what you're doing here as anointing Luger there, we know as fans, as hardcore fans, the true leaders of the Horsemen, this Horseman of the what-if scenarios is actually Tully and Arn. They are the glues that are holding this new Horseman, quote-unquote, together, Reflectionites. So now, this is great booking by UTW. You said you turn on Ric Flair. So now Ric Flair has to team with Sting. Now Ric Flair has got to team with the Rock and Roll Express or the Steiner Brothers. He's got to, mend those fences of people he's beat up in the past, that he's dicked over in the past. So how would you, infuse that? Because then, coincidentally, either Ric Flair has got to chase Luger or Sting is chasing Luger. How would you help? How would you kind of cultivate that? Or would you have Ric Flair go a level down and chase Barry Windham for the U.S. belt? So this way you got two young guys being galvanized up. What say you on that?
Or you give Terry Funk and Sting a tag team and they chase Arn and Tully.
Well, I'm being honest. Well, you want Terry Funk to, well, of course, Terry Funk supposedly because of Jim Herd, but I guess you want Terry Funk to be part of this instead of being retired and a commentator in 1990. That's what you want?
Because, like, he's going to be the guy to make the save when those guys turn on Flair. Like, well, hold up, And then because think about it. Wyndham and Luger wouldn't be the one hurting Ric Flair's feelings by turning on him. It would be Tully and Arn. So you give Flair a partner, you have him chase Tully and Arn to get revenge. And then...
So for the money, you want Funk to team with Flair or not Sting, or you want them all together?
Well, you got Sting and Luger or Sting and Wyndham. You got to have a heavyweight contender. And Sting's your guy. So Flair and Terry become a team by default when they turn on Flair in that match.
Oh, so you want Flair and Funk to chase Tully and Arn for that kind of thing.
That's where the personal betrayal is. It'd be Tully and Arn turning on Rick.
Because of the history, right? Right.
Gotcha. Cousins, remember? Or Arn and him are cousins or whatever.
No, I get you. That's a good... I'm just saying because where does Flair fall into this scenario? Because technically he would have to take a bump down in the levels because, again, in the 80s, like you said, he's the champion for a year, he loses, and a month or two later, he regains it. So, that cycle goes. But you're trying to, I don't want to say fade him away from the heavyweight title scene, but you're trying to, again, like we're saying, Reflectionites, in our what-if scenario, galvanize Lex Luger and be a believable, credible, and I think that's the word, TW, a credible WCW heavyweight champion. So you have Flair and Funk chasing Tully and Arn because it's more personal for Flair, and he has to, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So Funk would actually make the best sense in the world. It wouldn't be Flair and Sting, even though that would be more of a rivalry sense. You could do that as a special attraction. Let's say Clash of Champions, Flair and Sting against Tully and Arn, just for an attraction sense. But for the title, for the pay-per-views, like a Halloween Havoc, a Great American Bash, you do a Flair and Funk Reflectionites against the Brainbusters. That would work that scenario out there. So, TW...
Then Flair breaks away and then goes after either Wyndham or Luger, whichever one, you can drag it out. He systematically takes out Tully and Arn, takes out Wyndham, graduates by taking out Luger and winning the world title.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Ooh, that's an interesting quandary here because now you're going 90 to 91. So you know how Southern wrestling is, TW. The reputation of Southern wrestling is a long, drawn out, at least, make sense kind of war. Because again, Reflection, I'm going to give you an example. Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair technically had a feud for 4 years, and it made sense. It wasn't long and boring, but, Dusty and Flair for those 4 years infused the Four Horsemen. Dusty incorporated the Road Warriors. Dusty incorporated, Sting. Dusty incorporated War Games. He incorporated a lot of things so 4 years could fly by. Now, Dusty probably would come back. He does come back. So your actually assessment here can actually make sense. So Flair is either...
what if Dusty came out to be his partner?
At least for one night only. He would come back in that sense. That would be 91 Reflection Night. So, again, TW, we're booking it better for Flair to go after the Horsemen because it makes more of it's a money draw, in our opinion. It's more of a money draw for Flair to chase the Horsemen, to get revenge on the Horsemen. Of course, and you drag this out. What's that?
It's different.
Yeah, it's very different. Because now
you have them as heels, because by 90 people are cheering the Horsemen if they're, you know what I mean? But you're making them full on heels.
They're cheering the Horsemen because they're back. They're cheering the Horsemen because of the name and the reputation.
No.
They're going to cheer.
I'm saying the Horsemen were around long enough that they're starting to get cheered. Like, yeah, people still hate them, but there are other people like, they're dominant. I love them, you know, because right around now is the era of cheering the bad guys starting to creep its head in. I remember when I was a kid, 88, 89, my 5 favorite wrestlers were all heel. It was Rick Rude, it was Mr. Perfect, it was Macho Man as a heel, and then maybe Tito and Warrior were the other 2. But I had heels on top. Like, I loved him, man. I lived for him. I loved Nikita Koloff as a heel, you know?
Right.
I think he softened as a baby face, which you're supposed to, but I didn't like him as much as a baby face. And like you said, I probably wouldn't feel the same way about Tully right now if he had ever been babyface.
Absolutely. So your scenario, I'm going to go with your scenario again of Flair chasing the Horsemen or just trying to get revenge on a Horseman, incorporating Funk, incorporating Sting. Let me ask you this question. Name any pay-per-view you want, but I know you want your favorite match of all time, War Games. Give me your War Games scenario because it's 5-on-5 and the Horsemen are 4. Who's their 5th?
I think you get Luger, Wyndham, Tully, Arn, and the 5th guy, fuck it, throw Sid in there because they went hired muscle, right?
You want to use him as the hired muscle just for the one night only scenario?
Right.
There's nobody else. You don't want nobody else in that because that's a very important thing. Or you just want to infuse you want another young guy to get that kind of that rub, if you will.
Well, they're heels, and it would be intimidating to have the biggest guy in the company be your guy, right?
Okay.
Then you got Flair and Funk.
Okay.
And then you got Sting. Let's throw Sting in there because he's feuding with Luger.
Barrio Luger, yeah.
Then you throw Nikita, whoever's feuding with Wyndham for the other belt.
Okay.
And you have the surprise 5th partner, and it's Dusty Rhodes.
Okay.
Or Sting, Funk, and Flair, and 2 mystery partners, and it ends up being Animal and Hawk.
Well, they're still there, give or take. If you want to do if you want to do 1990, they do lead. But again, Reflectionites, I know, the Road Warriors did lead to go to WWE. But again, our what if is what if also Jim Herd just took a step back and not been a prick. And
I can't believe a Horseman failed a drug test and had lost his job. It's insane to me. Like, I don't know that I ever knew that's why Tully wasn't there immediately. I found out years later. Like, I've known before this show. But it's insane to me that a place that was fueled by Ric Flair being on cocaine, it was funded on that you're failing a drug test got you not hired. And then Vince,
respectfully, there's a difference because WWE was still mom and pop, but WCW was under the banner of Turner. That's a corporate conglomerate. So you couldn't you couldn't fake it.
When failed the drug test, Vince was like, "Nope, you can't come here either."
Well, because he tendered his release. You couldn't just come back and give you a new.
Raw is full of motherfuckers that didn't have a job 6 months ago. What are you talking about?
But this is Vince McMahon we're talking about. I'm being honest here. Vince is like, okay, that's fine. Do what you got to do. That's what it. Maybe he's a little
smart enough to go. You mean I can have Tully alone without Arn up his ass like a puppet master? Come on, man. Watch what I do with you.
Okay.
He would have made Ric Flair. Would have not be the Ric Flair. Tully Blanchard would have won the 1992 Royal Rumble. Tully Blanchard would have made that interview. He would have won the world title, and he'd be the guy on the Mount Rushmore today if Vince would have just took his ass back. I'm dead serious when I say I am stunned.
I love Tully Blanchard. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think he was not heavyweight championship material.
He never had a chance.
No, he was the national heavyweight champion. He was the television champion. He was U.S. champion, but it just didn't resonate with a lot of fans. You can believe him being the guy. He was the guy. He was the guy in his father's promotion, but he wasn't the guy for the nation, for the nationwide. I'm sorry, TW. I don't want to disrespect.
Listen,
I love Tully Blanchard.
We'll never know because he never got the chance. Because he was always held back by either Arn or that damn Ric Flair.
It's hindsight, but again, that's what makes these podcasts so great because
we debate. This belt is my second favorite championship because
there'll be
Blanchard.
There'll be Reflectionites saying it was Arn.
They're uneducated. They can eat their meatloaf and be wrong. I don't care. Tully is the man, and whether it's this belt or that stupid national heavyweight title, whatever the hell that was, it was the same belt without red on it.
Okay. Calm down. Calmate. Tranquilo. I understand. But let's have it official. You said Sting, Flair, Funk, maybe the Road Warriors, or you want Dusty? Wait, Sting,
or
Flair,
whoever's
Funk,
feuding with Wyndham and have one surprise guy, and it's Dusty.
No, because I got 4, but then the 5th guy, if you have no tag team, it'd be hard. Because you said Sting, Flair, Funk, Dusty. I have 4.
And whoever's feuding with Barry Windham at the time.
Give me a name. I need a name. I need a good name. You want Pillman? You want
Ricky
who you
Steamboat.
want? Steamboat wasn't there. He left.
Oh, after he lost the belt back to Flair, he left like he did the Honky Tonk Man?
No, he had a contract. He had a contract dispute.
Then go there. Then do Pillman.
You okay? I'm just asking. If you're gonna do Sid Vicious on one side because you want to get the young guy over and get the rub of a War Games, then I guess you got to do Pillman. So with that being
right,
yeah. So that would work out because it worked out technically in the
Eric Watts.
Hell no, I ain't doing Eric Watts in that shit. No way.
I can't believe you didn't say hell no to Alex Wright.
Oh, you said Eric Watts. Well, Alex Wright.
That's right.
Well, hell no to both, but they don't deserve that kind of rub. But anyway, Pillman, Sid Vicious for the 5-on-5 War Games in that scenario. That would work for the Professor. That would work for TW Reflectionites. Now let me ask you this question here. Forget about booking. We got the matches. We got the maturation of the 4 Horsemen, the new 4 Horsemen, if you will, Reflectionites. But TW, let me ask you this: what if Ric Flair technically left WCW in 1991 to go to WWE, and we already know that his greatest legacy ever, still to this day, I don't care what anybody says, besides his last match with HBK at WrestleMania, which is one of the best matches in Ric Flair's career, he said that himself. But his greatest legacy in terms of accomplishments was being in the 1992 Royal Rumble winner. The question I'm asking you here is, if Tully Blanchard came back in 89, and we're already booking all this and making a lot of money for Jim Herd, making a lot of money for WCW, making a lot of noise against WWE, would Flair be tempted to go to WWE in 1991 to 1992, or would he stay and let this cultivate and let's see where it would go? Because again, his dates would be more controllable, if you will. He wouldn't be doing the WWE 365-day-a-year schedule. So what say you, TW, about that scenario?
Well, first of all, to be fair, NWA wasn't doing that fucking schedule. Ric Flair was, because Ric Flair was wrestling on indie shows.
But again, that kind of waned down, and then they were themselves. He wasn't responsible for going to territories like that. So.
I think it's a domino effect. If Herd would have had the wherewithal to keep Tully in there, then he's going to pay Rick. Whatever their dispute was, he would have already been doing the right things instead of all the shit he did. I wouldn't be surprised if Tully not being let in there was the beginning of the problems that just snowballed into.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ric Flair probably's like, damn it, Jim Herd, we've done cocaine together. What do you mean you can't work here?
Oh, that's fucked up. It's totally fucked up. I lost my cocaine partner, Jim. What the hell you doing?
No. I'm saying him and Jim Herd have done cocaine together. How are you not letting Tully back here?
Oh, Jesus Christ. But again, we still have to ask that question, TW. Would Flair have, I guess you're saying if Jim Herd was smart enough, just like we're giving in that what-if scenario, then Flair would never have jumped to WWE, and we would have never got that greatest Royal Rumble performance in the history until, Shawn Michaels.
We'd have got it. We'd have got it, but it would have been Kurt Hennig winning that motherfucker. That's who would have won that thing. And the greatest guy to never win a world title would have won one. Oh, no. Kurt won one. He's an AWA world champion.
Of course, but you never...
we're calling the AEW a world title, then we're definitely calling the AWA a world title.
Yeah, until AEW existed, Reflectionites, he never called the AWA a championship. That's for damn sure. But anyway, that's a good. Again, that's one of those quandaries that we would want to answer here. So let's put a bow on this because there's nothing left to talk about. Again, how about this, TW? What is old is new again. Let's, how sometimes we kind of like, grease the wheels or milk it for what it's worth. So the scenario again would be Ric Flair would jump back into the Horsemen. Someone has to go out. You could kick out Luger or you could kick out Wyndham.
Luger. It's the alpha male.
Yeah, you kick out the alpha male Luger. So how long would the new Horsemen, if you will, or let's just say from the 1989 Horsemen, how long would this last in your humble opinion with all the variables together? How long could you book it for? Give me how many years? Could it run from 85 to 88 like it did? Could it do a 3-year run, or would you have to break it up and kind of like do what they did?
It's a different era, so I don't know if they could get away with it, but it almost would end up becoming like DX in the end, like a nostalgia thing, not the top of the card, not the bottom. And that's where I think you run into egos, because as long as they're there, they're going to feel like they should be the top for sure. Belt or no belt, they feel like they should be the guys getting the push. And if you don't feel like that, then fucking get the fuck out of the business. Because why would, like I said on one of your posts on the Hustle page, every single match should have at minimum 2 guys if it's a one-on-one match, 4 guys if it's a tag. Every single match, the people in it should be trying to steal the show. Because if you're not, then you're never, ever, ever going to move up. Because if you're afraid of what will happen to you if you outshine, Steamboat outshine Hogan, it got him a world title that he was never going to get if he didn't do that, right? Mm-hmm. It's my favorite match to this day. I was there. I don't think anyone's favorite match ever in the history of favorite matches was ever Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. I don't think anybody expected it to be, right? It's just...
it's a lot of people's favorite matches because of the slam mostly, not because of what...
It might be their favorite memory, but ain't nobody saying that's the match you're going to show somebody to make them a wrestling fan.
Well, Al Snow would beg to differ on that. I remember Al Snow saying that match is what people remember more than Steamboat and Savage. He said that, not me.
Al also does cocaine with Jim Herd. So, listen. Okay. I'm telling you right now, if you're not out there trying to steal the show, you're in the wrong business. And so, these guys...
Again, the 4 Horsemen, they stole they were competing with each other because they always wanted to have the best match of the night.
That's what I mean by it's a different era. There aren't really nostalgia acts back then. A guy who was once over, who's not over anymore, is Omar Atlas, who's doing jobs now on Saturday morning. I don't think they were ever going to fall that far. And if they did, they wouldn't be the Horsemen no more. They would be just 4 dudes wrestling on Sunday night, or Saturday night World Championship Wrestling or Heat. But it really depends on how they booked it. The WCW's biggest problem in that entire era
We booked it for the book. We booked it for a year. We gave you the war. We gave you the war games.
But back then this is why Dusty left in the first place. They took the book from him, and then Flair comes in. They take the book from Kevin Sullivan, and then Herd's got the book. I think Herd had the book. If Herd had the book, that would explain all the shittiness. But there were more matches in the back for that book than there were on TV. And it was.
I get you. But again, our what if is if Jim Herd took a step back and just said, I got you.
Let the artist paint the picture.
Right.
They could have went longer than 3 years.
You mean you think they could have went 90 to 90? You think they could have went 90 to 94?
90 to 93 when the wrestling business took a shit in the fucking entirety. That's when wrestling had its worst fiscal year ever. Yeah, right. Then you would have had to, threw the shit back in there, shook it up, and then see what came out.
Okay. It would be consistent 4 Horsemen storylines. Maybe Flair comes in to kicks out Luger. Like you said, they kicked out Flair the first time. Flair comes back in, kicks out Luger the second time. But in somehow, way or shape or form, from 90 to 93 would be probably the best infusion of a 4 Horsemen storyline or just cohesiveness.
And I think you inevitably, if you do it right, you've got Wyndham, you've got like I said, if Sid's in there at some point, you dig Ole up, you end up having 4 against 4 Horsemen versus Horsemen for the name, like Undertaker versus Undertaker, or IC title.
Midnight Express versus Midnight Express. You could do that. That's what you did before.
And that could be the coup de grace. And then have one team win, and then the two originals turn on their guys, and the other team, the 2 originals turn on their guys, and then the original 4 get back together as heels.
All right. With that being said, there's nothing left to talk about. We've controlled the crystal ball, and in our world, Reflectionites, we control the Horsemen for 3 more years. We gave you not 3.5. Let's go with 3.5, give or take. 89 to 93 and some change. And with that being said, we close on this What If episode.
One thing. I think we could both agree at the end of the day, since we're saying what if Tully ended up back there, nothing bad would have come from it. It would have been all good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's close. Let's close this out. From 90 to 93, could you ever feasibly, and get your bias away, could you have feasibly seen Tully Blanchard be the WCW Heavyweight Champion and it make it make sense?
Only if we did it the way I said, where Luger and Wyndham are the team, Arn's US, and Tully's the leader. He wins it at least for the same amount of time as Garvin.
Once. Okay.
I could see it. And, it's sad because Tully's not even someone we talk about in the conversation of best that never won a world title. It's Ted DiBiase, it's Rick Rude, it's Scott Hall.
No, we've never done, because what you're saying there is mostly WWE related. We've never done a WCW related scenario.
Well, but Tully was never put in a position that we thought he should have been world title. We all think Kurt Hennig should have been the world champion. We all think Rick Rude in either promotion. And you try to count that bullshit international title. I don't. That's strictly because Flair nailed him.
It was NWA logistically.
International champion.
It was NWA first and then turned international. But neither here nor there. That's logistics.
With that being said, never won a world title other than arm wrestling.
With that being said, Reflectionites, we close on this What If episode of the PWR podcast at the PWS Networks at podbeam.com. We're going to take a week off, pause with the cause, because the professor has to educate and edify out of state. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll do an episodic episode, and I will pick it, and I will, we'll see what we do. Maybe we do ECW. Maybe we do USWA. Say what?
Something with Tully.
You want to do an episodic episode with Tully Blanchard involved?
Something with Tully. Be a nice follow-up to this what if, and we go back to what was.
All right, then you know what? What TW wants, TW gets. I will find an episodic episode, either WWE or NWA, where Tully Blanchard was involved in some way, shape, or form. With that being said, Tully, I'm calling you Tully. TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here. And not like what you did last week. Do like 2 weeks before.
I know. Trust me, I got notes.
Okay.
All right. Hameen Media Group at podbean.com. I think is that one video?
The audio. That's audio.
It is audio. Podbean's audio. Okay. So Hameen Media Group at podbean.com. You can also check out Hameen Media Group at channelattitude.com. Our Twitter is at PW Reflection. Big Ray, come on. All of his Tinder, his Grindr, his Instagram, his Twitter, and his Facebook are all at Big Ray Hernandez. I don't know if his Facebook is, but you already see him on Facebook. So at Big Ray Hernandez, check out all that. TikTok, that's the other one. My Instagram and one of my Twitters are at TommyWonder19. Another Twitter is at the Tommy Wonder. I'm blurring the lines, guys. I'm going after people. I'm done being nice. It ain't.
You got Elon. You got Elon controlling it, so you can be. You don't have to be.
I'll tell you what. In the last 2 weeks, I've been warned. You sure you want to send that? So ain't nothing changed in that regard. And I'm like, yes, I do. But I have not been suspended. So at the Tommy Wonder on TikTok and the other Twitter, Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder, Big Vito Brand at Wixsite.com, and also Patreon.com/the Big Vito Brand for Vito and Noel. And I was in discussions last night and the night before with the other two members of the Dum Dum Duo and Idiot, and our problem has been, we figured out our problem. Matt would suggest things, and Stacy and I would be, nope. So I finally told him the other day, I said, listen, dude, every single one we ever did, I showed up, you told me what it was, and I did it. I go, I'm not telling you I'm going to succeed with the shit, but I'm definitely going to try. But if you keep telling me ahead of time, I'm telling you I'm not doing it. So I'm not eating fucking goat head or cheese head, whatever that's supposed to be lunch meat, but it's not. Head cheese, whatever the hell it's called.
Don't tell you a week in advance.
Right. And these two dummies watch videos of other people doing it before we do it. I'm like, you guys are killing yourselves because you're watching these. The only video I ever watched before doing it was because someone tagged me in it and said, you guys should do this. And my answer was, hell no. And it was the Stroming fish, which to this day is our highest rated video yet. It was over 10,000 views. It's probably at 15 by now. That video is our highest one. It's the one I almost didn't do because I said no, and when I showed up at his house, he had it there, and I'm a team player, so you get to wear the title, and I did it. So the Dum Dum Duo and Idiot, we're either going to fold ship, or we're going to start just doing it. I told him, just get the shit, tell me when to be there, and I'll do it.
You know what? Take it from us. We go boardroom style. Boardroom style, we just go off the cuff.
Right?
Dum Dum Duo and Idiot, got to go boardroom style. Just tell them that. They'll know what it means. Boardroom style, off the cuff. Just do it and let it fly, man. You can find me on my Twitter at PWSOPROF, at PWSOPROF. Haven't been suspended yet from Elon Musk. Have been given those, are you sure you want to tweet? Because I do go after liberals. I go after conservatives on the dumb shit that they both do. So I'm an independent thinker here. But either way, Elon hasn't suspended me. But follow my brothers in arms of the PWS, so Billy Ray Valentine, the man with the documents, at Obi-Wan You Know Me, and of course, the king of the reactions, 8-Track Brown at the number 8, TRAC Brown. And again, we will be back in 2 weeks, and we'll go episodic, a Tully Blanchard induced episode for our man, TW, okay? So, I'm the professor. That's Dum Dum Duo in its own, Mr. Wonderful, Tommy One is saying good night, and we will see you in 2 weeks here at PWR Podcast at the PWSO Networks at PodBeam.com. Put up the 4 fingers, TW.
Woo! Best TV.
No, Arn Anderson is.
Holy.